I was scrubbing his floors when he found my hidden paintings. That moment changed everything. Suddenly, I wasn't just his maid. I was the woman who could save his dying soul. Isabella Martinez had perfected the art of being invisible. At 26, she'd worked as a live-in maid at the Westbrook estate for 3 months, and billionaire CEO Damien Westbrook had never once looked her in the eye. She was furniture, background noise, exactly what she needed to be. She arrived at dawn, cleaned his massive penthouse suite, and disappeared before he noticed. The pay was decent, enough to cover her paralyzed younger brother's medical bills and keep her art supplies stocked. Painting was her escape, her secret life. In the servants' quarters late at night, she created worlds on canvas that would never see gallery walls. "Miss Martinez?" His voice startled her one morning as she cleaned his office. Isabella froze, her heart hammering. In 3 months, he'd never addressed her directly. Damien Westbrook stood in the doorway, 6 feet of cold perfection and a $10,000 suit. Dark hair, steel gray eyes, a face that belonged on magazine covers. He looked exhausted, haunted even, despite his wealth. "Yes, sir?" Isabella kept her eyes down. "You moved my papers yesterday, the merger documents. Where are they?" "Third drawer, left side, I organized by date, sir." She'd never moved anything. His office was chaos, and she'd simply curated order. He stared at her for a long moment, as if truly seeing her for the first time. "You reorganized my entire office." "I'm sorry, sir. I thought it's perfect." Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. Gratitude. "What's your name again?" "Isabella, sir." Isabella. He tested the word. "Thank you." She nodded, returning to invisibility. But something had shifted. 2 weeks later, Damien found her secret. Isabella had been using the estate's unused art studio, a dusty room nobody visited. She thought she was safe painting at 2 a.m. when the household slept. "You're very talented." His voice shattered her solitude. Isabella spun around, paintbrush clattering to the floor. Damien stood in the studio doorway, still in his work clothes, tie loosened. He'd been looking at her paintings, dozens of them, leaning against walls, cityscapes alive with emotion, portraits of people society ignored, her brother's face captured in moments of joy despite his wheelchair. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't think anyone used this room. I'll remove everything." "Don't." He stepped closer, studying a canvas of a homeless man she'd seen outside the estate. "These are extraordinary. You have real talent. Why are you cleaning houses?" "Because art doesn't pay medical bills." The words came out sharper than intended. Damien's expression shifted. Recognition, maybe understanding. "Your brother. I saw him in several paintings." "He's sick?" "Paralyzed. Car accident 2 years ago. I'm all he has." Isabella moved to cover her canvases, feeling exposed. These paintings were her soul, and he was dissecting them with those calculating eyes. "I want to buy them." Damien pulled out his phone. "All of them. Name your price." "They're not for sale." "Everything's for sale, Isabella." His tone wasn't cruel, just matter of fact, a billionaire's worldview. "Not my art, sir." She met his eyes finally, defiant. Some things matter more than money. For the first time since they'd met, Damien Westbrook smiled. Actually smiled. Interesting. Very interesting. Damien didn't fire her for trespassing in his art studio. Instead, he showed up at her door the next evening with an offer that changed everything. "I have a proposition." He stood in the doorway of her tiny servants' quarters, a space he'd probably never visited before. "My company is launching an art initiative. We need a lead artist for our corporate headquarters. You'd create 12 large-scale pieces over 6 months. The pay is $200,000. Isabella's legs nearly gave out. Sir, I don't have formal training." "You have something better. Authenticity. Raw talent." He stepped inside, making her small room feel microscopic. The art world is full of technically perfect, emotionally empty work. Yours makes people feel something. That's rare. Why are you doing this? Suspicion crept into her voice. Rich men didn't just hand opportunities to poor women without expecting something in return. Because 3 months ago, my best friend killed himself. Marcus was an artist, brilliant, but the pressure, the expectations, the corporate world I convinced him to join, it destroyed him. I found him in his apartment surrounded by blank canvases. He couldn't create anymore, so he stopped living. Isabella's heart clenched. I'm sorry. I don't want sympathy. I want a redemption. I want to prove that art and commerce can coexist, that I can support an artist without destroying them. His eyes met hers, and she saw the grief he hid beneath his cold exterior. So, will you accept? On one condition, I remain a maid too. I don't want charity. Deal. The next 6 months transformed everything. Isabella worked mornings as Damien's maid, afternoons as his artist. She painted in the studio he'd renovated for her. Professional lighting, quality supplies, space to breathe. Her brother Miguel received better treatment, a motorized wheelchair, physical therapy. Life improved in ways she'd never imagined. But something else was transforming. Her relationship with Damien. He visited her studio daily, watching her work. At first it made her nervous. Then she realized he wasn't critiquing, he was healing. Watching her create seemed to quiet something broken inside him. Tell me about this one. He gestured to a canvas showing a woman's hands, scarred, calloused, but cradling a butterfly. It's about beauty in unexpected places, how hard work doesn't diminish worth, it proves it. Isabella didn't add that she'd painted her own hands. Damien stared at the painting for a long time. I forget that sometimes. Worth, beyond wealth. They started talking, really talking, not employer-employee conversations, but honest exchanges. He told her about the pressure of inheriting his father's empire at 23, about feeling trapped in a life he'd never chosen. She told him about dreams deferred, about finding joy in small victories. One evening, working late, she found him asleep on the studio couch, exhausted from a 17-hour workday. She covered him with a blanket, and his hand caught hers. Stay, he murmured, half asleep. Please, I sleep better when you're near. Isabella stayed, sitting beside him, watching moonlight paint his tired face, and realized with terrifying clarity she was falling in love with him. The article hit 3 days before her gallery opening. A tabloid exposed their relationship, photos of Damien entering her studio late at night, implications of impropriety. The headline screamed, "Billionaire's maid, modern Cinderella or gold-digging scandal?" Isabella's phone exploded with calls. Reporters camped outside the estate. The alt world whispered. Worst of all, Damien's ex-fiancée appeared. Victoria Sterling, supermodel, socialite, perfect. She materialized at the estate with her lawyer, her smile sharp as a blade. "Damien, darling, we need to talk about this situation." Isabella watched from the hallway as Victoria wrapped herself around Damien. "The board is concerned. Your investors are nervous. Dating the help? Really?" "We're not dating," Damien said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Good, because I've spoken to your mother. She agrees this needs to end immediately. Fire the girl, donate to charity, and let's announce our reconciliation. Damage control." Victoria kissed his cheek. "Plus, you know we're inevitable. Why fight it?" Isabella felt her world crumbling. She'd been stupid, so incredibly stupid, to think a billionaire could actually care about a maid, to think art and honesty could bridge their worlds. She left before hearing his response, packed a few belongings, texted her resignation. The gallery opening was tomorrow, but she couldn't face it, couldn't face him. Miguel found her crying in their shared apartment. "Isa, what happened?" "I forgot my place, hermano. I let myself dream. She looked at her paintings, the corporate pieces that were supposed to launch her career, and felt only emptiness. But dreams are for people like him, not people like us.
Isabella didn't go to her own gallery opening, but Miguel did, wheelchair and all, determined to represent his sister. He sent her video throughout the night. The gallery was packed. Art critics, collectors, socialites, everyone curious about the scandal artist. Her 12 corporate pieces hung in pristine lighting, each one a window into her soul. Then, Miguel's video showed Damien arriving, alone. No Victoria. He looked wrecked, suit rumpled, exhausted, desperate. I need to make a statement. Damien's voice came through Miguel's phone. The gallery fell silent. 6 months ago, I hired Isabella Martinez to create art for my company, but she gave me something far more valuable. She reminded me what it means to be human. He stood before her paintings, his voice raw. These pieces aren't about technique or trends. They're about truth, about seeing beauty in struggle, worth in hard work, and humanity in places we usually ignore. Isabella paints the world as it is, not as we pretend it to be. Damien turned to face the crowd. The tabloids called her a gold digger. They questioned her integrity. But here's the truth. Isabella Martinez has more integrity in her smallest finger than I have in my entire body. She refused my money. She insisted on working while creating. She never once asked me for anything except the chance to prove herself. His voice broke. And I failed her. When the scandal hit, I didn't defend her immediately. I let my board, my ex, my fear control me. That was unforgivable. Where's she now? Someone called out. Gone, because I was a coward. Miguel brought Damien to their apartment. Isabella tried to close the door in his face, but Damien blocked it. Please, let me explain. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. There's nothing to explain. You're a billionaire. I'm a maid. We live in different worlds. Isabella's voice was cold, protective. The art sold well, I heard. I'll wire you back the advance. I don't want the money. I want you. Damien pushed into her apartment, making the small space feel tiny. Victoria and I, that relationship ended a year ago. She left me because I was emotionally unavailable. She was right. After Marcus died, I shut down completely, felt nothing, cared about nothing. He moved closer. Then you came into my life. At first, you were just efficient, my perfectly organized maid. But then I saw your art, your passion, the way you sacrificed everything for your brother. You made me feel again, Isabella. You made me want to be better. So why didn't you defend me immediately? The hurt in her voice was raw. Fear. Pure cowardice. My father built his empire by being ruthless, emotionless, strategic. I watched him destroy my mother with his coldness. I swore I'd never be vulnerable like her. But then you came along, and suddenly I was terrified, because you have the power to destroy me completely. I would never. I know. That's what makes you dangerous. You're good, Isabella. Genuinely good. And I'm terrified I'll ruin that. Ruin you, like I ruined Marcus. You didn't ruin Marcus, Isabella said softly. Depression did. The system did. You loved him. That much is obvious. But you couldn't save him. And you've been punishing yourself ever since. Damien's composure cracked. Tears fell, and Isabella watched this powerful man crumble before her. She'd never seen him vulnerable, never seen him real. I should have known, should have helped him. His voice broke completely. Isabella crossed to him, taking his face in her hands, the same calloused, scarred hands she'd painted.
You can't save everyone, Damien, but you can choose to live, choose to feel, choose to let yourself be loved. I don't deserve, neither do I. I'm a maid, remember? No formal education, no pedigree, no trust fund. She smiled sadly, but maybe that's the point. Maybe love isn't about deserving. Maybe it's about choosing each other despite everything that says we shouldn't. Isabella. He breathed her name like a prayer. I love you. Completely. Terrifyingly. You're the bravest person I know. You face poverty and hardship and impossible odds, and you still create beauty. You still believe in good things. I love you too, she admitted, even though it's complicated, even though your world and mine don't fit neatly together, even though I'm terrified. Damien kissed her then, desperate, honest, everything they'd been holding back for months. Isabella melted into him and they stumbled toward her tiny bedroom. This time there were no barriers, no employer-employee boundaries, no wealth divide, just two broken people choosing to be whole together.
They made love in her small bed, and it was nothing like Isabella had imagined. Damien was gentle, reverent, treating her like something precious. She traced the tension in his shoulders, the scars on his knuckles, evidence of a past he rarely discussed. They weren't perfect or polished, they were real. Afterward, tangled in cheap sheets, Damien said, "Marry me." Isabella laughed. "You're insane." "Completely. But I'm also certain." He propped himself up. "I know it's fast. I know people will talk. But I've spent my entire life making calculated decisions, and I'm tired of it. You're the only impulsive, reckless, absolutely right decision I've ever made. Your family will disown you. Your board will revolt." Isabella traced his jawline. Dating the maid is one thing. Marrying her is corporate suicide. Then let them revolt. Let them leave. I've got enough money that 10 generations of Westbrooks won't need to work. Why am I killing myself to make more? He kissed her forehead. Marcus used to say that success without meaning is just expensive emptiness. He was right. Isabella wanted to say yes. God, she wanted it. But reality crashed back. What about Miguel? Your mother, the media circus? We handle it together. Damien's certainty was absolute. Miguel can live with us. I'll hire the best therapists, the best equipment. My mother will come around, or she won't. And the media? Let them write their stories. We'll be too busy living ours. You're really serious. I've never been more serious about anything. So, Isabella Martinez, will you marry me?
The wedding was simple. City Hall with Miguel as witness and a handful of true friends. No press, no spectacle. Just promises exchanged between two people who'd found each other in unlikely circumstances. Damien's mother attended, surprisingly. "You're either very brave or very stupid," she told Isabella before the ceremony. "But you make him smile again. He hasn't smiled since Marcus died. For that alone, you have my blessing." The media frenzy lasted months. Some called it a fairy tale. Others called it scandal. Isabella didn't care. She continued painting on her own terms, telling stories that mattered. Damien restructured his company, cutting his hours, delegating more, actually living instead of just existing. 2 years later, Isabella's first major gallery exhibition opened to critical acclaim. "Martinez paints the invisible," one review stated. "She gives dignity to the dismissed, beauty to the overlooked. Her work isn't just art, it's activism." Damien stood beside her at the opening, holding their 6-month-old daughter. Miguel was there too, now walking with braces. Experimental treatment that Damien's wealth had funded, but Isabella's determination had researched. "Any regrets?" Damien whispered as they watched people engage with her art.
Only that I didn't spill paint on you sooner, Isabella grinned. Would have saved us months of professional distance. He laughed, that rare, genuine sound she'd learned to cherish. I love you, Mrs. Westbrook. I love you too, though I still use Martinez professionally. Of course you do. You're Isabella Martinez, the woman who taught a billionaire what truly matters. I'd never ask you to be anyone else.
I was scrubbing his floors when he found my hidden paintings. That moment changed everything. Suddenly, I wasn't just his maid. I was the woman who could save his dying soul.